Hello and thank you for tuning in. I apologize for the background noises. There's not much I can do about that. Today, as you saw from the title, we will be discussing the Kukri knives, the style in general, and the purpose of what Kukris are for, and whether they are good or acceptable, preferable for bushcraft and camping. Short answer is no, but I'll get into the details why. Kukris come in two shapes. Basically, there is the modern Kukris and traditional Kukris. This is a modern execution of a Kukri, inclusive of everything basically. The handle, the blade, and the sheath. I will shortly say this is an Ontario knife, so you may be able to get this, but if not, you can buy the same exact thing with a worse handle, which is a wooden handle, quite badly executed, from Essie. You can get them from Essie now. And I believe Cold Steel also has some similar shapes and ergonomics. So does SOG, SOG. So you can get modern Kukris, and then traditional Kukris won't have this type of flimsy nylon sheath. They will have a wooden sheath enclosed in leather mostly. And they slide in and out. These modern Kukris, because of the flimsiness of the sheath, they usually go from above like this. So they're extracted out upwards. I've seen Kydex sheaths that do the same thing, but the sheath basically is the beginning of troubles for Kukris, right? So in this case, there is some sort of cardboard or maybe plastic insert inside, but you can see it's all manged up and bent up. Quality of rivets, you see, horrible. Unfortunately, I've seen some reviewers say, "Oh, this is quite nice. She's rather useful, blah, blah, blah." This is a worthless piece of junk. So you need to throw this out and either order a sheath or make your own. But this is just garbage. Now, talking about Kukris, what they are, what they were made for, where they come from, etc. Kukris are weapons. They're not tools. So yes, you can use a weapon as a tool, but universal things like multi-tools, usually, let's take Leatherman, who is the best multi-tool, regarded as the best multi-tool, or Victorinox, let's take those two. Neither of the appliances they have, neither knife nor the saw, anything, excel at what they do. They are just good for that form factor. So the idea of having, say, 27 or 32 tools into one compact size, yes, sure, it works, but if you wanted to sew something, would you go and grab your Leatherman? Of course not, right? So Kukris, traditional Kukris, first of all, are not like this. Traditional Kukris, this is a modern interpretation, and a rather bad one at that. What I mean is traditional Kukris, usually the blade extends out to approximately similar length, but the first section of the blade is relatively straight in relation to the handle. It is not this abrupt curve and then another curve. This is done by somebody that does not understand what they're doing and are trying to make something that may be appealing to zombie warriors, right? People that believe that zombies will take over the world. So something more weapon looking, intimidating, but when you take this thing and start using it, immediately you start seeing the flaws. So why a straight angle here would be better than a straight up bent angle is because of the ease of control and predictability. This is a very difficult shape to predict and size up what you're hitting, where on the blade section you're hitting, etc. So a traditional one would have straight and then bent down. So it's easier to control, it's easier to predict where you're slashing or chopping, etc. Now, as I said, these were made as weapons and used as weapons for slashing, chopping limbs off, chopping heads off, and occasional use in the jungle when you need to clear the brush, etc. But if you've seen traditional kukris, they're very heavy and thick on the spine. They're heavy, short swords. So a machete or a parang would do better for bush clearing, for the jungle. Unfortunately, I've seen plenty of established and respected outdoorsmen claiming that kukri is their favorite knife for the woods, and it is their choice for survival / bushcraft. And I'm here to say that, I mean, things are subjective. Maybe you're used to one kind of a knife or one kind of a shape, but if you pay attention to them using the kukri, those experts that are using the kukri for bushcraft and camping scenarios, you should notice that they're struggling and trying to justify that, oh yeah, I can feather stick with my kukri and they'll be feather sticking in this area. Oh, my kukri has a sharp edge, it can do whatever, you know, cut meat, etc. This is not a good kitchen knife either because of the shape, as I said. The only part that will be cutting meat is this, if you're down on the on a board or on a wooden piece. But at the same time, see where my hand is hitting, right? So if we compare this to, this is a good comparison, I believe. A straight edge knife, call it a Bowie, call it, I don't know, Kepard, I don't know, long blade, whatever. Straight blade with a belly. This entire section is used for cutting meat or whatever you're cutting. If I'm bushcrafting, I can do my chopping and batoning from here. I can do my detailed work in here, closer to my grip. And if you know much about knives, you should understand without much arguing that this is where you feather stick, this section, or this is where you do your notching, etc. So and if I was to feather stick with this, how am I doing it? Now, you may think, well, this is a non-traditional shape and traditional kukris have the blade coming down farther. No, they don't. They usually have a notch here, which nobody really knows what that's for. Some people say it's a hoof of a cow. Some say it's Krishna's, what do you call the fork thing? Some say it's to drain blood down when you're chopping limbs off. There will be blood here, and so that it doesn't get your hands wet, blah, 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 which is nonsense. If you're swinging, the blood is going forward, not backward. The only time the blood would flow backwards is if you're holding a wet kukri up like that, and that's not fighting, right? You're just standing, trying to be intimidating. Anyway. So these sections for kukris are not used for any fine work, basically. And that is because it is not done for fine work. It's more of a chopping tool. Another thing you may say is that, oh, that's a flat grind. And yes, it's a full flat grind. And a traditional kukri would have a convex, just like this knife has a convex. But that won't give you much difference in terms of ergonomics. You're still like 1 foot almost between your handle, your grip, and your cutting edge. And as I was talking about predictability, and you will see the difficulties you will face using these to chop down a tree. You'll see that in this chopping video. So as discussed earlier, these two knives are identical in weight, but obviously this is significantly smaller. If you're packing it in your backpack, none of this should really, I mean, wearing this on the belt may get in the way in your movement, might be cumbersome, so probably best to carry it in your bag or on your backpack. So easier, this one, the kukri, will take up more space. Weights are identical, and as you will see now, the cutting edge is larger on the Kukri than on the bark river. There we go. And the claim is that this is as much of a chopper as the Kukri, if not a better one. I would strongly argue that this is actually a better knife overall, and a better chopper, a better slicer, better for detailed work. It's basically better for everything that the Kukri can do. The Kukri is slightly used. I have not done anything to the edge. This is the factory edge, and it is an Ontario knife company Kukri, which is now discontinued. But the same exact, it's basically 100% identical to the Kukri that Essie makes currently. They just have a wooden handle, which is significantly worse. The only thing that I really do like about this Kukri is the handle, actually. So let me start off now. I will be testing both blades on this dead tree. As you can see here, this is all dead and rotten. It just has one live branch, but so I will make one cut here with the Kukri, and then I'll move down here somewhere with the bark river. So as I hit, because of this uneven geometry, it reacts to my hand grip differently. If I hit it here somewhere, the knife wants to go forward. If I hit it here on the belly, it sticks in and stays in, and so forth. But it's not a predictable cut. It's not a predictable use. Every time you have to get used to which part you're hitting and act accordingly. What it's also doing, because it has this curve, the curvature causes your wrist to twist as well. So let's say if you're doing a flat cut, it has a different reaction, but if you're trying to then take the chunk away and doing like a diagonal hit, it wants to twist significantly more than if it were a straight blade. By the way, this type of motion, this vibration, is usually very hard on a mechanical watch, and most of my outdoors sports watches are actually, I put them together myself. You can watch the build videos on my channel, but they all carry an NH Seiko NH34, 35 or 36 movement, by which I'm just amazed on its durability, its accuracy. Nothing seems to affect it. I'll be smacking, doing machine work, working with motorized tools, etc., wearing this watch. Nothing seems to affect it. Okay, that's down. The edge was never shaving sharp from the factory. As I said, I haven't done anything with the edge. This is the factory edge. 1075 steel, so it's not 1095, but that's what a lot of more affordable manufacturers go with, like the Ontario or the Condor knives. But for this type of use, I'd say the edge holds up chopping. And this is not pine, right? This is a hardwood, significantly stronger than pine. Edge retention is decent, but that's not what we're testing out. We're seeing how well it can chop, right? So even though this is a rubber handle, there are some rounded off but still boxy shapes on the top, and it was kind of hitting me and creating some sort of hot spots, but overall not a bad handle. This handle, as you know, I did it myself. This is a Park River STS-7, the largest version they have, and I gave it a proper handle that it deserved. Coke bottle shape. So now we will be cutting slightly thicker section of the wood. Let's do it here. Yeah. Now I can do this for much longer because of the comfort of the handle, and because of the weight distribution. I would say this is doing as good of a job as the other knife, if not better. And because it has a straight edge, it's significantly easier for the user to control which part of the blade you're hitting and where. With a Kukri, I was all over the place, like between this area I was hitting. Here you can see that the cut is much narrower. Done half of the work, and only now will I switch the hands. So that other Kukri, because of the handle, now this is G10, mind you, that is rubber. Still, the first time I want to switch my hand, half of the job is done. I would have switched it 2 or 3 times on the Kukri. And the other thing is, I can swing this much faster than I was swinging the Kukri, because the weights are similar, but the Kukri is more drawn out, so it requires more of a swing compared to this one. There we go. So much easier to do the chop with this knife than with the Kukri. That's one demonstration. And about the edge retention, this is 154 cm stainless steel. My own sharpening. Let's see if it shaves. Yep, still shaves. And I wouldn't be surprised if I did 3 or 4 of those and this will still shave. There you go. You may say that the handle is great, but that has nothing to do with the Kukri, and no, it's not. This handle is better. I made this handle, and I'm not saying it's better because I made it, but it's just better ergonomically than this one. I don't even know whether it's worth me doing feather sticks with this. I mean, I can't. I'll straight up say I cannot do feather sticks with this. I can do feather sticks with this. So I did show you the chopping video where I was chopping down a hardwood tree about this size. What is that? I don't know, 4 inches, 5 inches. And I found it, so I only switched my hands because I got tired once on this knife, and I don't know how many times you'll see in the video, probably 4 or 5 times I switched on the Kukri. And considering that I did the first chop with this and then I immediately chopped with this, so I was tired already when I was using this knife. This went easier, faster, and I only did 1 switch of the hands. So that should tell you. Now, yes, I was not born with a Kukri, I was not raised with a Kukri, and maybe I don't know how to use a Kukri much. But we're talking Kukri for bushcraft, for camping, which is more of a Western culture. So should the Westerners be using a Kukri for bushcraft is what we're talking about. The answer is no. So I will also, while I'm at the table, I want to go over some ergonomics, and then later I will just show you that this batons much better than this, is much safer to baton with than this. So the only real scenario where this could, and I'm not saying it will, but where it could excel over a straight knife is in combat. But is that universal? By no means, it's not. So if you give this to a Gurkha warrior, which are the Nepalese warriors that used these weapons for killing, if you gave them this knife, they may say, no, I'm used to a Kukri, and I know the motions are different. This, to damage the human with this takes way more time, because you have to swing this thing, whereas, and this is not very good for stabbing. If you know much about knife fighting, then you should agree that stabbing is more of an efficient way of attacking rather than slashing. And slashing is easier to defend against than stabbing. So, you know, Gurkha who is used to using the Nepalese Kukri, who is used to those slashing motions, etc., they may select this. But any Western or experienced tactical fighter should select a straight blade with a good tip for piercing. Also, this is unwieldy. It's too long. There's too much weight in the front, and it's easier to control this. And what matters in a knife fight, for those that have never been into a knife fight, is the speed and the skill of the fighter. So I would rather have the skill. If I'm in a knife fight, I would rather be skillful and have this knife than be without skill and have this knife. And maybe you could argue that the two people with the same skills will be more efficient and successful with this kind of a small and very fast blade than a large unwieldy blade. So I don't see any argument whatsoever that a Kukri is better than a straight blade Bowie type knife, whether that's in combat or whether that's in bushcraft. I don't want to go too much into combat because I'm not a fighting specialist, but I do know how to use my knives in the woods and how to do bushcraft. So I stand very strongly that this type of blade is way better, safer, more efficient, takes up less space. So let's do some measurement, just so you know that you may think, oh, that's a huge, thick Bark River knife, and of course, blah, blah, blah. Let's look. So we will first weigh the Kukri. This is in grams, 571 grams. The Bark River with extremely thick handles, 503. So 70 grams heavier than the Bark River. This chopped more efficiently than that one. So that allows me to, if we're talking packing weight, that allows me to take along something like this maybe. Yeah, there you go. So that and these two knives are approximately the same weight as your Kukri. Same would go with the Essie. This probably will be a bit heavier, 144. So the other misconception is that, oh, you know, I need a strong chopper to prepare firewood. If you're in the woods or basically anywhere, if you find wood and you start chopping it down, that's questionable, because you're exerting a lot of unnecessary energy, which for survival or even bushcrafting or camping situations, you're just getting yourself tired. So you may find that having something like the one large knife and a saw. This is a Corona folding saw, razor tooth, pull back cutting action. I found this extremely useful. I've had the Bacho, B-A-C-H-O. I've had others, Fiskars, etc. I tried to get the optimal small compact saw and found this one to be the best out of my choices. And even if we go to the silky saws, and you know that silky saws are the high tier, one of the best that you can get for the money. I still prefer, for what silky saw offers in terms of their smallest folding saw, I prefer this one, even though the silky saw costs 3 times and 4 times more than this. The handle ergonomics are really good. The locking action, very nice. Everything works as expected. This is a rubberized handle, so taking these two tools, you can basically build a shelter. You can chop trees down, saw them down. You can make all kinds of traps, etc. I would never take this into the woods just because of how heavy it is, and it's useless. For bushcraft, for camping use, it's useless. The fact that, oh, I can you know, chop down a small branch with one swing, not a big deal, and you can still do that with this type of a knife. If we're talking strictly weight, I would rather take these two, for example, a saw and a knife, a small knife. Now, you may say this is not small, but it is. This is what I would call a proper small hard-use knife. I say that because, for example, this Essie Zula 2. This is a world-known brand and a very popular knife. Sorry, I'll get a lot of slack for this, but this knife sucks. It sucks because of the handle. Not only the size. The size is actually more acceptable, but if the handle was reversed, it would be much better. It narrows here. Because it narrows here, I'm gripping the steel part. It's very narrow. I cannot put pressure down on it. If it was reversed, where it was thicker on this side and then blade came out, I have a much better grip here. So a small knife, a neck knife, if you're talking bushcraft and not just opening cardboard boxes and cutting scotch tape, you need a proper handle. This, for example, is a $14 Mora blade that I put into this handle myself. Very strong knife, because you keep the blade sharp and the rest is up to the handle. I have a very strong grip and universal. I can grip it reverse grip, hammer grip, and I can do, even though the blades are similar, I can do way more and better work with this tiny blade than this blade. And that is the reason why I say this is a proper small knife. Beautiful for skinning, plenty of blade for detailed notching, feather sticking, whatever you need to do, 90-degree spine, but a proper contoured handle. You can put a lot of force into this. So taking this and this will do way more and more beautiful work than the Kukri, even though this is actually heavier than these two. Let's weigh them. So that was 571 grams. What is that? Not even 400 grams. So I can even add to this. I can have like a medium-sized blade and this. So again, because of the weight, because of the size, you see how large that is, and it's an awkward shape, so this will take up half of your backpack, and that is if you have a decent sized backpack, right? Whereas this takes significantly less and would fit into your backpack easier. Let's look at the sheaths of the shapes. Clear to see the difference, right? This sheath is almost the size of that entire knife. So, as I said, I don't see the use of me showing how either of these feathers stick, because it's very, very clear. This feather sticks just fine. It's just a large knife and you don't want to do 20 feather sticks with this, but it works beautifully in terms of making thin slices of wood. This is horrible because no matter how sharp I get this, and by the way, kukris are difficult to sharpen for beginners. A beginner knows how to sharpen from here to here. They don't know how to sharpen this. And if you want a very detailed edge, then you need like a sharpening system to work with this. Doing this freehand will not give you a V edge, it will give you a convex edge. So having a V edge here and then a convex edge here and then a bed transition, basically this is for desktop bushcrafters, people that like the shape and hope that zombies will soon take over the world so they can bring out their kukri and show everybody how cool their weapons are. Okay, so let's now go and do some batoning. Before the batoning, everybody loves coffee. I love coffee. I'm not sponsored. I purchase all of these tools and whatever I review on my channel with my own hard-earned money. So it is challenging, and soon I will run out of materials to review. If you like the content and wish to support, you can always buy me a coffee. There is a link in the description, and you can support the channel through that application. Thank you. Let's go baton. So first let's do the kukri. As I said, these are not easy pieces of wood to baton. There is a knot over there and you see it's a fibrous, this is oak. So when batoning, where am I supposed to hold it like this? When I'm hitting the baton, it slides off. Am I to hold it like that? Then look at my wrist, not very ergonomic. But you have to, you can't really do this because if you hit it, it'll, so this would be the optimal to start. So let's start. Now I want you to notice that when my hand is straight, the kukri goes into the ground or whatever the subsoil is. That's never good for your blade, right? So predictability and ease of control is, so how do I do that? If I do that, my hand digs into the ground. So not comfortable. Let's do again. See, now I can't really hit this. This will go into the, and then my fist, my wrist, my fist is digging into the ground. If this was a straight blade, my hand would be here. So yes, I can hit it down. If I move my hand up like that, then the blade goes down. So how is this useful for working into the woods? Let's now do the straight blade. Okay, all bent up, not here. Let's do this piece. Now we're talking ergonomics. Obviously, this Molly. This is a thicker blade, so it will split wood better. Also, it's a convex and it won't get bound up as a flat edge. It does get bound up with the woods. So you see, much easier, and it already split it. Done. Again, that is due to the thickness. It's splitting easier than that, but in terms of the hold, in terms of safety, right, I'm not hitting this belly onto the ground, and I'm not damaging my hand either. This is a straight blade, predictable. There you go. Now, as I said, I wouldn't make feather sticks, but let's just look at what we're dealing with. Here, the entire blade is working. So I can do my feathers close, like I'm doing now. There we go. Nice round curls, as hopefully you're able to see. There you go. Very nice curls. Let's do the kukri. Where? I would have liked here, but I can't, because regardless whether it's a modern kukri or a traditional one, usually these first 2 inches or 5 centimeters are unsharpened. So I can't. The only place I can do it is here. Let's see. This is a very dull edge from the factory, and you see I'm unable to control the knife. It's jittery, you see, and my hand is getting tired, my wrist is getting tired, because I'm having to work all the way out here. I wouldn't make feather sticks like this, you know, out on the edge, on the end of the edge. I would be working here like this. So, and also notching. Let's say I have to make a notch and I'm working on a flat area and I have to make a notch straight, predictable. I can hit anywhere I like. How do I make a notch with this? Do I hold it here? Where? So you need ideal. This is more demanding in terms of your working conditions than a straight blade. And one last thing is drilling holes. You know that bushcraft knives will usually have a down sweep here, and that is done to center the point of the knife to the middle area, so that if I need to make a quick hole, I just do that and start drilling, right? With this, not ideal, but this will make a much better hole than this. This is just very awkward, you know. And it's a longer blade out here, so you would have to like pinch up and do your detail work that way, but then this belly doesn't serve a good function. You need a straight section. With that straight section you can grab here. It would have been a much better knife if the handle was moved up here, just like that, because at least in this straight section you can predict and work accordingly. So if I missed anything, people, if I judged the kukri incorrectly, and you know, I'm not trying to bash on a kukri, it's a weapon, and I'm not a warrior and I'm not a weapons expert, so all I can say is that it's not a tool, it's a weapon. And using a kukri in the woods is like using a bayonet in the woods. Would you take your bayonet for bushcraft and camping tasks? Most likely not. If I missed anything, or if you have some counter arguments that, oh, kukris are great for bushcraft, please substantiate those arguments rather than just saying, oh, I use my kukri beautifully. Show me. And most of the people that I've seen using kukris for bushcraft, they're struggling. And it's just clickbait, you know, they're trying to fill a notch saying, oh, I use a kukri, I'm cool like that, and whatever. But they will, if you pay attention, they are struggling to make their point. When using the weapon, you can clearly see that they're having a difficult time, and they're still trying to justify, oh, you know, these feather sticks, or it chops wood or does whatever. It's just not the case, people. And hopefully I was able to demonstrate, regardless whether this was a traditional kukri or this modern interpretation, kukris are not for bushcraft, they're for killing people. So unless you're doing that, do not waste your money on any type of kukri knife. Just buy yourself a proper, and if you like choppers, buy a chopper, you know, good steel and good ergonomic shape. It will do much better work for you in the woods than a kukri will. Thank you for tuning in and staying with us for so long. If you like the content, please do subscribe, because we will be creating more videos like this. So stay tuned. Cheers and have a good day.